If not us, who? And if not now, when?
The following is an EHC media production.
For honest, uncut, and often controversial coverage of all things wrestling, there's one place to get it, with some good old banter thrown in.
Join the Butcher and myself, two-time Knowledge Champion Mike Larkin, along with your host Dazzy Dangerously, every Friday for the Max Wrestling Podcast, with championship specials every 2 to 3 months.
WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor, and the company with many names and more.
On Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, Podomatic, iTunes, and Stitcher.
We must now bid you adieu, goodbye, mwah, and good night. Bam!
Watching the WWE 24 coverage of WrestleMania 34 was amazing. Just brought chills to my skin and reminded me of how great it felt when I was live there in New Orleans. Every switchblade needs his switch babe.
Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. You're listening to Talking Strong Style. My name is Courtney Summers, and I am your hostess with the mostest. Here to cover, we're going to cover today my personal highlights from G1 Supercard in Madison Square Garden. I'm also going to cover my highlights from the Bullet Club Block Party, and also talk about Tama Tonga and Enzo Amore and their little Twitter feud they've got going on, and also talk about Killer Kross and the Kingdom from Ring of Honor hanging out together recently. So today's episode is going to be, I think, a pretty kick-ass episode. And before we get into all of that, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Courtney Summers. I am from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I have been a lifelong wrestling fan since I was a baby in a onesie watching Elizabeth and Macho Man get married. I was hooked on wrestling ever since, and wrestling is my first love in life. I have a passion, though, in wrestling for New Japan Pro Wrestling and Japanese Pro Wrestling in general, pure resto. I adore Japan and their country and their system of honor and class and respect that they have. I just adore it. And, some of my favorites over the years have been Lita, Edge, Molly Holly. I've liked Brian Pillman Jr., Stone Cold Steve Austin, Jake the Snake Roberts. You run the gamut of basically your anti-hero badass, and that's my type of character. And here recently, my favorites have been, of course, Jay White and Tama Tonga and the entire Bullet Club, Minoru Suzuki, Killer Kross from Impact and AAA and Lucha Underground. I love his work. His work is just spectacular. And the fact that he's not in New Japan still makes me a little mad. So moving on to the next thing is G1 Supercard. That night was just electric. The energy in Madison Square Garden was contagious. We were very loud throughout the entire night. Some of the biggest pops, I remember when Suzuki came out everybody just lost their shit. And we were all just, we kaze Nina raid the loudest and proudest that we could for the king. And that was just an amazing moment. And even right now, recalling it, I'm getting chills. Then we move on to another highlight of mine was seeing Kelly Klein win the championship in the Garden. That was just amazing because Kelly has been with Ring of Honor for years. She has been basically the road to Women of Honor. She has been the one who was a big advocate for there being a Women of Honor title. And so for her to get that moment in the Garden, just once again, chills. DSJ and Tana was amazing. And I felt bad for Tana the entire time because knowing how bad his body is, I was just like, ugh, Zach is just killing him out there. And another highlight from that night would be seeing Matt Taven, my king, because I'm part of the Queendom. I am a Kingdom girl for life. Seeing him win the Ring of Honor World title. That was amazing. I lost my shit in the Garden when that happened. And another highlight was seeing GOD win all the gold. That was just amazing for me as a good sister for life. Just seeing those boys out there kicking ass, taking names, and you know, even though there was some controversy afterwards, which we'll get to a little bit later on, it was a fun match. And then we get into the main event. Then we get into Jay White versus Okada. And I went into that match legitimately 100% in my heart of hearts, in my heart and in my mind, thought that Jay was going to retain. And when he didn't, I lost it. Like I was almost about to start crying. I was, you know, it was a really emotional thing. And that's what I love about wrestling. Like, even though that kind of broke my heart, that's what I love about wrestling. Wrestling can get you so emotional, so invested, that you will sit there and you will have to keep yourself from crying because your favorite lost a match or lost a title. And it was just a beautiful moment. Just even though it was kind of sad and bittersweet, it was a beautiful moment because it was the first time I ever got to see Jay wrestle live. It was the first time I ever got to see a New Japan show live. And it was in the Garden. And that night was just beautiful, despite the ending that I really didn't want. But it still ended up being okay. And it still ended up being a great night, great time. Got to meet some people from Twitter, got to, you know, meet some other people around me that were fans. And it was really just a good night of just Ring of Honor fans and New Japan fans coming together to support what we have wanted for so long. And that is an alternative to what WWE puts out, because WWE has not been that consistent as of late. Let's be honest. So then we go to the next day. And this is the day that was, when I say it was legitimately my ultimate dream come true, it was legitimately my ultimate dream come true. To get to hang out all day with the Bullet Club, because the Bullet Club has been there, and you know, they didn't know it, but they loved me through a pretty tough 6 years of my life where I was really sick. And so did Jay. Like, Jay actually came around at the right time, because at that point in time, like when I saw Jay first in Ring of Honor and really started really paying attention to him, I was really close to giving up. I was really close to just calling it a day, say, we're done with life, I check out. And so those guys have, through wrestling, have loved me through, you know, the toughest period of my life. And for me to get to go there and thank them in person was just a dream come true, to get to hang out with them. And it was really like you were hanging out, because they had like Chase, Yuge, Fale, they had Jay, they had Tama, they had all the guys, you know, mingling throughout the party at different points during the day. And you got to take a group, like I had VIP, so I got to take a group photo with the guys. I got to get autographs and stuff like that. I got to meet all the guys. It was just a blast. It was a fun day. And I did get to thank Jay and Tama personally for what they've gotten me through. And Tama was like, "That's awesome." And just to see the smile that brought to their face was just priceless. Just to see that, that you've impacted them now, that you've given them a reason for why they do what they do, why wrestling is so great, why I say professional wrestling is the best medicine on planet Earth, bar none, because it helps a lot of people through. It helps a lot of people through dark times, and to see their faces light up when I told them that, it was just priceless. And I will have that image of Tama and Jay smiling in my head for the rest of my life. And Jay, without missing a beat, says, "Just stay at the level you're at now and don't go back to where you were." And that sentence has continued to rock my world, because I was dieting and I was being way too hard on myself. I'm going to be honest. This is where accountability comes in. I was not eating enough calories. I was trying to lose the weight way too fast, and having struggled with an eating disorder in the past, I was kind of, now that I look back over the past couple of months, like I was kind of on maybe a slippery slope. And what woke me up was what Jay told me when he said, "Stay at the level you're at now." For him to say, "Stay at the level you're at now," he must think that I'm fine the way that I am. So it was like, if Jay White thinks you're fine the way you are, then honey, you need to cut yourself some slack, and you need to let yourself, kind of enjoy life and enjoy yourself and take your time losing your weight. You don't have to lose it like in 6 months. That's crazy. Just to take my time and to be more healthy and be more mindful about it. And like, that's why I always say this to, people that are in the business that I'm friends with, or anybody on the street, that you never know what one sentence can do to impact somebody's life. And that one sentence has impacted my life and continues to impact my life almost a month out. So, I just want to say, I know Jay will probably never hear this, but I just want to say, Jay, thank you so much. You gave a girl her confidence back. And I really just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. And I also want to thank Tama for putting on the party. He was an absolute gentleman, an amazing host. And it was a blast of a day. And I want to thank Steve as well. Steve was the guy behind the scenes. He was the one that was running the Twitter account, running the email list, running everything. He was the one that was making sure that this party went off without a hitch. And Steve, I already told you on Twitter, you are a legend for that. And I just want to ask that Steve and Tama, if you ever hear this, please put on another one, and please let it be in Dallas, because I might be going to the G1 in Dallas. So pretty please. And that moves on to what I talked about earlier, what happened at G1 Supercard, the whole Enzo and Cass thing, where they invaded the show by jumping the barricade. That has led to this week Tama Tonga and Enzo going back and forth on Twitter. And I've just got to say this to Enzo, just give up now, because Tama Tonga is not the guy that you want to come for. He's not the guy you want to come for. Especially with the weak promos that he was coming at Tama Tonga with. Like, it's just him screaming and yelling. And it's like, Tama Tonga is so good that he doesn't have to scream and yell to get his point across. He can just talk cool, calm, and collected and own your ass. And I just want to say thank you, Tama, again for that, because you are a legend for that. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Enzo needs to go and just do his rap career. However many people he can get to go to a little club and listen to him rap, do that, because the wrestling business, we really don't want you, because you were such a cancer to the WWE locker room that they kicked your ass out. You were, not even what happened with him and that girl and the allegations, not even that is taken into account in my assessment of him. Before anyone says, oh, she's just hating because he was accused, blah, blah, blah. No, it's just a mountain of just evidence of him just constantly just misbehaving, not acting right, not acting respectful. And it's just, Ring of Honor doesn't want that in their locker room, I'm sure. I'm sure New Japan doesn't want that in our locker room. And I wish he would go to Japan and act like this in front of Minoru Suzuki, because Minoru Suzuki would kick his ass. Legit. Probably. And then we would never hear from Enzo again. But I digress. So, all in all, with this Tama and Enzo thing, I think Tama has won this by a long shot. And I just hope that this is reality and they're really going back and forth with each other. And this is not a work, and that Enzo is going to end up in Ring of Honor anyways, because, I mean, Enzo just really doesn't fit into Ring of Honor. He doesn't fit into the aesthetic of we're all honorable and we're all about integrity and we have the code of honor and we shake each other's hand before a match. Enzo just does not fit in with that vibe. He just doesn't. And he doesn't fit in with the Shinihon New Japan vibe either. He doesn't fit into that at all. So it's like, just stay away. Just please. You made your money in WWE, I'm sure. So just stay away. Please, Enzo, I am begging, just stay away from my beloved Ring of Honor in New Japan. Just please. Then some other interesting stuff has happened this week. I don't normally really cover WWE, but I will for this case. Luke Harper requested his release, and Vinnie Mac isn't letting him out of his contract. And as a matter of fact, he is adding 6 months to the contract for the injury time that he had. To me, this is beyond petty. This is beyond petty. And this shows you that AEW is a threat. Because if AEW wasn't a threat, they would have just let him go. And they would have cut their losses, cut ties, split amicably, all is good, and go their separate ways. But ever since this AEW thing has come up, we've got Sasha Banks possibly sitting out of contract. We've got Luke Harper possibly sitting out of contract. You've got Ty Dillinger, who was actually at the block party, by the way. You've got him sitting out of contract. This has never really happened before. The only time somebody was made to sit out of contract was during the whole CM Punk saga. So this shows you AEW is a threat to Vince McMahon. And for those of y'all who think it isn't, I want to know what you're smoking, because I want some of it. Because this has never happened ever before, where we've had wrestlers ask for releases from WWE and a chunk of them are just made to sit at home and sweat and, not make money and not get their downside guarantee and all that other stuff. It's petty, and Vince, it makes you look bad. It really does. It makes you look like the petulant child throwing a fit in this whole situation. It does not make you look mature. It does not make you look good at all from a PR standpoint. So I don't understand why WWE isn't just letting these people go. If you want to make them sit out 90 days, make them sit out 90 days. That's perfectly fair. That is in their contract. So they've agreed to that before. But, why make these guys and gals just sit out contracts. It's just, it's not a good look. And here lately, I've been seeing something that's got me all kinds of excited. I'm a Kingdom girl. I'm part of the Queendom. And to see Killer Cross, who is one of my favorites in the world, like, my two favorites in the world right now, Killer Cross, Jay White. Pretty much. Nobody else comes close. And to see Killer Cross hang out with TK O'Ryan and Vinny Marseglia, that's just amazing. And I can't wait to see what happens next. Excuse me. So right now I want to just talk about what's next for Jay. They've got him feuding with Goto, with the premise being that the person that wins this feud gets the next title shot. So I'm hoping that Jay gets that title back soon. And maybe, for all we know, this could be them giving Jay a break, because Jay for months just looked exhausted, and I was kind of concerned a little bit. So I'm kind of glad that I'm seeing him and he looks a little bit more happy. He looks like he's finding his feet, like he's found his place, and he's found like where he needs to go. And now that he's found that, watch out, world, because Jay White is coming for all of you. And I just can't wait to see what's next for him. So that is going to wrap it up for this first episode. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. And I hope you'll tune in to next week, because next week I'm going to be covering, a little bit of Impact. I'm going to be covering some more New Japan news with the Best of the Super Juniors coming up. I'm going to talk about that and what I think is going to happen with that. And I just want to say to anyone that needs it, you are loved, you are worthy, you are enough. I love you, and I hope you all have a good day or night wherever you are, and I'll talk to you very soon. Peace